The Empathic Harry Podcast is a Mind Garden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. It's been a little while, but we are back with an Empathic Harry podcast because we have stuff we need to discuss. So that's really what this is all about. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
Thanks for being along. So we just started a new season of the Sandy and Todd cast, focused in on Bigfoot, which I think will be a lot of fun.
It is. It will be a lot of fun. We just recorded episode 1 and 8 episodes in the Chronicles of Bigfoot series. It should be really fun.
Wanted to get together in this atmosphere a little bit because we've been doing the Empathic Harry podcast, and then we kind of incorporated it into the Sandy and Todd cast and whatever, and we're kind of bringing it back out just because we're focusing more on the Sandy and Todd cast as far as having focused content per season. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to allow us to do a little bit more with the Empathic Harry because they're a little bit shorter podcasts, a little less involved with information and more about experiences and things of that nature.
Right.
And really, I wanted to do this because it's a little bit of therapy for me. Anybody who's a listener to our podcasts knows how much that Sandy and I love animals, and we've adopted animals, and we have animals in our lives, and all that kind of stuff. And Sandy's got Spike, and he's always with her. In fact, she just had to let him out of the studio to go be my dad. And I had Winston, and Winston had been a part of my life since 2016.
Yeah.
And so I just recently lost him. I want to back up though, and just tell you a little bit about Winston, because as a child, we had a dog. Her name was Frosty, and she was a Springer Spaniel, and we got her at Christmas 1977. So she was the gift. And what happened was Santa Claus put a box under the tree, a big box. We're thinking there's a dog in there. We knew we were getting a dog, right? So we opened this big box up. It's the last present we're allowed to open. And inside is a collar and a brush and some puppy food and a note that says basically, when you do get a dog, you'll have this stuff. Okay.
Right.
So we're like, fuck that,
Right.
So, and then on the other side of the note or something like that, it said, go look out in the camper. We had a camper that was out in the driveway. And so we went out there, and here's this little Springer Spaniel puppy.
Aww.
So had her for a long, long time. I think she was 13 or 14 when she finally passed. Great hunting dog. Loved the entire, she was a family dog,
Yeah.
And she really, when we were younger, really took to my sister Dawn and my dad. I mean, if there was somebody that my dad was ever in love with, it was that dog. He would call her Peaches, and they go on truck rides, and they go up to my grandma's house, and my grandma would have a sweet roll ready for her. And I know you're not supposed to feed your dog chocolate, but that dog had more chocolate cake and chocolate everything than,
Right.
So finally lost her. And when I got into adult life, I had a few cats, and then I decided I wanted another dog, and ended up with Buddy, who was a Springer Spaniel. He was a great dog. I have a way of picking dogs. He was my first adult pick, and I knew as soon as I saw him leaning up against the cage that he was going to be the one. Lost him to cancer. And then another adult dog, Greta, lost earlier this year to cancer, but she was much older. She was old and had been around a long time. Winston, I found back in 2016, and this has been very true for me. At least the last couple of times I've looked for animals, and every time's a fucking heartbreak when you lose them.
Oh.
With Buddy, it was a long battle. We knew he had cancer. We actually got a hospice vet who would come to the house to check on him and adjust medications, trying to make his life good for a few months kind of thing. And then when it was time, she came out and, we were able to say goodbye. But Winston, I actually went to see another dog. I saw a picture, on a site, and it's like, oh, I think he would fit. He's so cool, Maybe it's time for a dog. So went to see him, and the energy was just not right. He was really high strung and nippy and yippy and all that kind of stuff. And while I was there was this black dog. That's what I just call him, a black dog, although he was brown and stuff like that too. But sitting in his cage, kind of back in the corner, not going nuts like the other dogs. When you go to a dog, a shelter, and you walk in, the dogs just go crazy.
Right.
They're jumping up like 6 feet in the air. Some of them are coming at the cage at you, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
He was just sitting back there. And he was an older dog. They thought maybe 6 or 7, didn't really know his age. So he was cheaper, right? Instead of the $150, he was like $75.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, I got to see him, right? Save some bucks. So met him, and he was just immediately, that was it.
He was your dog.
In love. Said yes, I think we're going to do this. They put him back in the cage, and then they do the whole rundown of calling all your neighbors, and they get a hold of dead relatives somehow with a Ouija board to find out what kind of person you are and shit. And as we're walking away from the kennel, all he did was bark.
Oh.
Ruh, 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 ruh. Walked out of that room into the front lobby. Ruh, 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 ruh.
Oh.
It's the only time I've ever heard him bark. He never barked again after that. So, all right, adopted him in 2016 at Christmas time. And, dogs get older, started getting gray in the face. He was never an overly energetic dog unless, he was going outside or something. But he, the very first day, he slept a good portion of the day. And that's just who he was. He was just very low key and fit my lifestyle perfectly. And so getting older and stuff like that, he had some stomach problems a couple years ago that kind of troublesome to get through, and everything was fine after that. Saw the vet in January. He's doing great. Really no signs that anything was wrong. I think he started drinking a little bit more water in the last month, 2 months, something like that. But I mean, nothing crazy. Wednesday, I do the whole every couple days a week, maybe I'll go get coffee and a soda from McDonald's. And I'd always say, do you want to go get a hash brown? Mm-hmm. Well, any car ride at all. He fucking loved it, right? Just loved it. And he would act like a puppy at that point. He would run toward the garage and then run back at you like he was going to run you over, and then run back to the garage and then come back. Just crazy that morning. Just really, really a happy dog.
Right.
Go do that McDonald's, come on home, have the hash brown, everything's great. Later in the day, I'd take him out. And he was the kind where I could open up the side door and he'd go just beyond the driveway into the neighbor's side yard, take his pee, and then happily trot back to the house, wagging his tail.
Right.
And he did it that day. And something in my mind said to me, I wonder how long this will be. Mm-hmm. I got a really weird feeling on Wednesday that it wasn't going to be much longer. And I don't know why I felt that way, because he wasn't showing any signs of sickness at all.
Yeah.
He had to go out in the middle of the night, Wednesday night, which is nothing out of the ordinary, depending on how much water he had and stuff like that. Thursday, we woke up and he was limping a little bit, like his backside was a little shaky.
Yeah.
And he had some instances over the time where he would be limpy or favoring a leg or a foot. And we found out that every once in a while he'd get a pinched nerve. And it had happened, several times. And we'd give him some muscle relaxers, and then within a half hour, it would be gone. Everything would be great. So did that. That wasn't getting better. He didn't eat Thursday morning and had to help him down into the studio in the morning. because he wouldn't go down the steps himself.
Mm-hmm.
Laid in the studio, but never went to sleep. Just stayed there. And then began breathing hard and hard and realized he had to go in. Something was not right.
Yeah.
Carried him back up the stairs, got him into the car. By the time I got to the emergency room, his gums had been started turning white. And the entire ride, if there is a God, he was getting his ass chewed out pretty hard. And I basically said, if I lose this dog, you're going to see a fucking evil Todd for a long fucking time. Got him in. We had been told that there was like a 2 or 3 hour wait getting him in. And they took him in right away. Within 10 minutes, we found out that he had a large tumor on his spleen. Mm-hmm. And that while they did not test it, it was very likely cancer. Aggressive. They gave a big long name, and I don't remember what the fuck it was. But basically, could they operate? Probably. But even if they did operate, it would only give him maybe 3 to 6 months. And then most of that time would be recovering from the surgery and all that. So I had to say goodbye to him. Out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah.
And so by noon, he was gone. Day before, going to grab a hash brown, running back and forth, smiling, everything normal, gone Thursday. And, you know, for anybody who loses a pet, it's pretty crazy. To lose one in 24 hours that you weren't expecting to lose that way, really, really hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he's gone. And again, you know, part of me is just couldn't be more thankful that I didn't have to have him around for 3 or 6 months, seeing him decline like I did with Buddy. You know, He basically was in top form one day and gone the next.
Yep.
And so very thankful for that.
Yes, without a doubt.
But the difference in the house was absolutely couldn't, you know, it was like a home one day and not a home the next.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
I know. So I didn't really want to push it very much, but I knew that if I were going to find a dog like Winston in any way, shape, or form, I would have to at least start searching, because I knew that while I didn't want to, I could never replace him. I wasn't trying to replace him. I knew to find somebody that I would connect with like I connected with Winston. I wasn't just going to be able to walk in a month from now, find a dog and go home. It just wasn't going to happen. Because you do walk in and they're all, look at me. You know,
right.
They're over in the corner pissing and shitting on the floor because they're so happy. And you're like, oh God, I can't take that home. So at any rate, he was gone Thursday. Saturday, I said, I just want to go see some dogs. I need to be around some dogs. And there's literally a shelter walking distance from my house, 5 blocks maybe. And there was one online, seriously, about 2 weeks earlier that I had seen. It was a little pit bull mix. His name was Leo, and just cuter than shit. You know,
absolutely beautiful.
You saw him. I think you saw him. Little toy in his mouth. Just couldn't be happier. He always carrying his toys around. Oh, he would be cute. Blah blah blah. Right? I want to go see Leo. So I go, and I meet Leo. And it's just very obviously he's not anywhere near the kind of energy that I need.
Right.
There was another dog there, can't remember his name, but he was a lab mix that was extremely overweight. And they didn't know if they were going to find a home to take him. I don't know. Maybe he'll be right for mine, right?
Right.
A little shit wouldn't stop biting my beard and ripping the hair out. The entire time I'm trying to, calm him down and get your energy level down. He's just he's biting at my beard and ripping the hair out. In fact, at one point I looked at him and he had like 5 or 6 hairs on my beard hanging out of his mouth, right? Like, you little shit. So at any rate, saw like 3 or 4 dogs there. And I just, it's fine. I'm not looking to replace or get a dog today, but none of these are right. And I left there going, you know what? This is going to be really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And then I thought of Winston and I thought, I want to go back to that shelter. There was an energy at that shelter that was just very, very nice. I want to check it out. So took the 20-minute ride, walked in, very nice facility. I wish every shelter could be this nice.
Mm-hmm.
And talked to the lady at the front desk, and she's like, "You're looking already? Like, I should feel bad for that." And I said, "I'm not necessarily looking, but for me to find the right match, I've got to be open to it whenever it happens."
Right.
She's like, "Absolutely, blah, blah, blah." Walk in, really nice facility. It's like a cinder block facility, really nice long hallway. On the left are the windows into the kennel. They don't let you into the actual kennel, but you can see all the dogs. And then on the right-hand side are all the little meeting rooms that they've got set up for everybody.
Right.
Walk in. Dogs are jumping everywhere. Just jumping everywhere. Look at me. The whole thing you always get when you go into a shelter.
Yeah.
And I think, well, here we go again, right? None of these dogs are right. Second to the last kennel, which is the exact same kennel that Winston was in, stood a black dog, slowly wagging his tail. Not overly impressed at what he was seeing, apparently. But then he sat down. And I'll tell you right now, I started crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Crying my eyes out. Not because I was like, oh, that's the one, but because, oh my God, that reminded me so much of finding Winston, the thought of Winston, whatever. Let me see him. Name's Draven. He's about 2. They don't know. Winston was trucked up from Tennessee. They found him down there roaming the streets. And the shelters down there were going to put all the dogs down, so they shipped him up here.
Mm-hmm.
Draven from Texas, same situation. Was in the shelter. They were going to euthanize them all, ship them up here to save their lives. That afternoon, there was a new dog in my house. And the truth of the matter is, and I say this over and over and over, that dog was sent to me by Winston. And they're not the same dog.
Nope.
There's a lot of differences. Draven has more energy, gets the zoomies once in a while. Does like kisses, likes to give kisses. Winston did not. Winston did not like me touching his nose, which was my favorite part to touch on him. I love dog noses. Yep. Draven loves it. Draven has chewed up 2 TV remotes already. Winston never damaged a damn thing in my house, and Draven's already killed off 2 remote controls. And I can't, it's not just energy. There's a spirit there that is dead on. And Winston had the most soulful eyes of any dog I've ever met in my life. He had more soul in those eyes than anything.
Beautiful.
Draven has the sweetest eyes. So, and again, I think it's because I listen to my intuition. I listen to my empathic feelings. I listen to what basically was Winston reaching out, going, you know what? You should take a trip. You should make that trip up to that shelter. You should just walk in and see. And lo and behold, in the same fucking kennel cage was another fucking black dog. And the comment was made, I think you're helping to mend my broken heart. And I think I wanted to share that story, not because I wanted people to feel bad for me, but I wanted people to understand that that energy is out there and you've got to be listening to it all the time, or you're going to miss out on good stuff.
Right. It's a beautiful story, and we have had a few conversations about it privately. I do truly believe that that is exactly how it was supposed to be. When I lost Jack, and everybody knows about Jack, when I lost Jack, he was my spirit dog. And that was May of 2020. And within a week, we were ready because the house was just, and Jack, from the time that we brought him home, he was probably about 4 or 5 in 2009. Christmas Eve 2009, he came home. That little dog had, I half jokingly say, I don't think there was an inch of his body that didn't have something wrong with it.
Right.
We went through a lot with him. I think we kept our veterinarian, who, by the way, are a wonderful couple, and we consider them our friends. I think we kept them in business for many years. He went through, we thought we were going to lose him in 2017 when he had that large tumor behind his eye. And his eye had to be removed so that they could get to the tumor. The oncologist said that he'd never seen it before, that it was benign. Every other tumor he'd ever dealt with in 20-some, 30-odd years had been malignant, and Jack's was benign. And so we were blessed to have 3 more years with Jack. And so when we did lose him, and he was going downhill, like, we knew it was just a matter of time. It wasn't a surprise. We think he was at least 15. And for a Boston Terrier to live to be 15, especially with all of the illnesses and problems that Jack had, was a miracle and a feat in and of itself. And so we lost him, and it was devastating to me, and I still cry over losing him. But something in us, in me, said we need to fill our home again, and we need to give another dog a chance at a good life. And we had put in an application for a dog, but the dog was going to have surgery, and it would be about 6 to 8 weeks before the adoption process would actually be carried out. And in that time, I decided that there was no way that we could wait that long. And so I looked, and we found Spike, who, again, we weren't replacing Jack, but we needed to not only fill our home again, but we needed that companionship and that love, especially being home by myself all the time. That companionship is so important. And I saw Spike, and Spike came home to us July 1st of 2020, within a week. And I say this because it was the same as with Jack. In less than a week, we had him up here. We had gone through the entire adoption, very thorough adoption process. And he was in North Carolina being fostered. And within a week, that Wednesday, we put in the application Thursday. By Wednesday, he was up here with us. And totally different dog than Jack ever was. Just like Winston and Draven. Some similarities in the breed, but by the same token, just totally different dog than Jack ever was. And he had had a very rough life, neglect and abuse, and he had He had been attacked by a large dog. He was left outside all the time. He's from Kentucky. And had his jaw broken. But I believe, and you went through the whole thing with me, so you were there, but I truly believe that that little dog was meant to be ours. And the way that he just acclimated himself to our life, I do believe that Jack really had a hand in it.
Yep.
And like I told you, I really believe that Winston had a hand in it. I really believe that.
I think Winston was like, I want to send them, I want to send a good dog, but not too good.
Oh, I know that feeling. I know that feeling too. So, but I totally 100% agree with you. I was so happy to know that you were open to exploring the idea of another one, because when you open your heart and you feel that love, it's very hard to close it back up again.
Yeah. And listen, if anybody could, it would be me. But I
Exactly.
I chose light over dark at that point, because I could have turned into the nastiest motherfucker ever. And I think
you sure
seriously, if I would have not have done that, if I would not have started the search, I think that people think I can be dark and an asshole now. I think I was ready to start killing people, because, the one thing in my life, that I had no questions about was him.
Yep.
And all of a sudden that was taken away.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Let's move on from this. I hope to do more Empathic Carry podcasts very soon. And we may even talk more about this particular subject, because we could talk about dogs and stuff like that all the time. But one of the things I do want to kind of springboard off of in the next time we talk is how this has made me want to open up some of my gifts, but not open them up for human use.
Mm-hmm.
Open them up more for animal use, and which may in turn help humans. But really, I want to start being able to communicate and connect with animals so that I can help them more.
Yes.
So fuck humans. Down with humans, up with animals. That's going to be the new name of the podcast.
What? I am so happy and proud of you, because I think that's, if there's anything that you could use your gifts for and do it successfully, it's something like that.
I hope so. Well, thanks for listening to our blubbering podcast and listening to us sniffle and cry and all that kind of crap.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to us. This is a podcast for and by empaths and the people that love them. And so if this has helped you kind of relate in any way, we're really glad to be able to tell our stories.
Go give a dog a home. Let's just say that.
Let's do it.
Remember to spay and neuter your pet. Bob Barker. Goodbye.
Adopt, don't shop.
That's right. Till next time. Bye.